Happy Labor Day. Going to do a little bit of reading today. If you guys haven't checked out Gary Vee's 12 and a half and you're in a personal development stage of your life, highly recommend reading it a few times. This is my third time reading it. So he breaks down 13 different ingredients like gratitude, optimism, things like that. So right now we're talking about gratitude. Do you have enough food to eat? More than 820 million people in the world were undernourished in 2018. No matter how much you hate your job, do you have the ability to get another one? According to the Global Slavery Index, 40.3 million people were in modern day slavery in 2016. They really don't have an option to quit. Do you have a proper toilet at home? About 60% of the world's people, 4.5 billion, don't have a toilet that properly manages human waste. Do you have high-speed internet at home? About 3 billion people aren't even on the internet. Even 21 million average Americans lack broadband access. And we even don't start talking about income yet. According to CNN's Davos 2017 Global Wage Calculator, the global adjusted annual income wage was $20,328. In Russia, it's about $5,457. In Brazil, $4,600. In India, $1,600. In Malawi, $1,149. Obviously, there's too many variables to identify your exact rank out of 7.7 billion. However, by throwing all this data at you, I hope you get to understand what's actually going on in the world outside of your direct surroundings. I'm completely driven by perspective and by gratitude. I was born in this former Soviet Union in Belarus, so I deeply understand how much worse life could be. In fact, I might not even been able to get out had it not been for the following event. And again, guys, we're reading Gary Vee's 12 and a half. If you're watching live, hit that thumbs up button. In 1970, 16 Russians plotted to hijack a small plane. The crew pretended they were going to a wedding, but secretly planned to fly the plane to Sweden to escape Soviet Vietnam. Their eventual goal was to arrive in Israel, but the plan didn't work out, and the participants got arrested and thrown into jail for treason. However, that event drew global attention to the human rights issues in Soviet Union during the Civil War. The media in the United States covered the hijacking plot, and it changed the political landscape. Due to the increased attention and pressure, the Soviet Union loosened its regulations and eventually let more Jews leave. I believe those 16 people changed the course of my life. Luck is an interesting word. I probably would attribute most of my success and tenacity to my tenacity, ambition, and other emotional ingredients. I probably would attribute most of my success to my tenacity, ambition, and other emotional ingredients rather than luck. But the fact I was able to escape the Soviet Union at a young age, certainly involved luck. People don't understand the reality of what's happening in the world because their communities are so insular. People look at $20 million as an entry point of success. Excuse me. Many people look at $1 million as an entry point of success. Many 20-somethings say they're trying to make it before 30. When you're living in a Los Angeles apartment or a house in Greenwich, Connecticut, it's tough to wrap your head around the fact that women in Africa collectively spend 200 million hours a day collecting water. I'll read that again. When you're living in your Los Angeles apartment or your house in Greenwich, Connecticut, it's tough to wrap your head around the fact that there are women in Africa collectively spending 200 million hours a day collecting water. People look upward to those who rank higher, but they don't look downward at the billions ranked lower. Anybody who's in a business in the first world nation already living an extraordinary life. I don't think most entrepreneurs realize how blessed they are. Even if it's a grind, even if it's hard, even if there are bad days. Hey Riz, don't forget, over half the world doesn't even have a real toilet. Don't forget, half of the world doesn't even have a real toilet. When you develop perspective, the timelines you set for your goals naturally shift. As I write this, life expectancy in the United States is about 29 years old, is about 79 years. In 1930, it was 58. In 1880, it was 39. Although 1880 feels like a long time ago, it really isn't. A grandparent who's 91 in 2021 probably knew of family members who had died at 39 or so. If you lived during that time, of course, you needed to have your life figured out by 30. You die 9 years later. Let me read that again because I jumbled it up a little bit. Although the year 1880 feels like a long time ago, it really isn't. A grandparent who's 91 in 2021 probably knew of family members who died at 39 or so. If you lived during that time, of course you needed to have your life figured out by 30. You die 9 years later. Even in 1930, people died at 58. By age 30, their lives were already more than half over. As your life expectancies increase, shouldn't our timelines for goals increase too? Shouldn't you be okay with not having everything figured out until later? With advances in modern medicine, I believe many of you will live to 90 or 100 years old. If you are 27 and hate your job after working your way up for 5 years, it's fine to take a step backward and find another job. If you're 33 and decide to start your business from scratch after getting a degree in something you're not passionate about, you're not too late. You're actually the luckiest of the lucky. You get to be alive during an era when the math shows you probably have another 60 years to play. Regardless of what happened yesterday or every day before, you still have a generous amount of time ahead of you. Be thoughtful and honest with yourself about your missteps, but don't start dwelling on them. People beat themselves up and obsess about something that happened 13 years ago. A business partnership that didn't work out, a startup that failed, a boss they didn't like, and it becomes the jail that they live in. With all the time you have left, there's zero value in getting bogged down there. If I ever get into the mud, I'm grabbing my gratitude hose to wash it off. Hey Kason. Hey Riz. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the comments. We're currently reading Gary V's 12 and a half. This is the first part, gratitude. I've had a major disappointments in my career that I've dwelled on for maybe an hour, maybe a day. If it was really a gut punch, how can I be upset about something, about such a small thing for so long? I'm playing my life's mission. I'm doing my thing. Of course, I'm going to lose every now and then. It's like losing the playoff series in basketball. It's gonna happen. In the face of disappointment, gratitude is my chess move to limit dwelling on it. Hey, Riz, right? This whole book is I mean, you guys gotta read it. And I'll put a link in the show notes so you guys can buy using my link. Actually, as long as we're talking about dwelling, I need some help. Send an email to gratitude@vfriends.com and title it The Value of Dwelling. I need to know what it is. I'm not talking about the value of mourning. I'm not saying you shouldn't give yourself time to mourn. I just think that we should reserve mourning for death of people, not bad business decisions. What's the value of dwelling? What could possibly be productive? About beating yourself up for weeks, months, or years over a bad outcome. I get it. Susan broke your heart in college, but it's over. She's 47 now with 3 children. One of the biggest points I'm trying to get to in this book is that positive emotional ingredients provide more sustainable fuel than negative ones. If you draw energy from gratitude, you'll find that it lasts much longer than energy drawn from insecurity, anger, or disappointment. Right? They'll both produce energy, but which one's more sustainable? Which one's more healthy? I understand why people like to use dark side as energy. I love being an underdog and having a chip on my shoulder too. Why do you think I love being a fan of the New York Knicks and the New York Jets? I love losing. I am motivated by it, but I'm more motivated by the light than the dark. That balance matters. Anger can give you short-term energy boosts, whether it's anger towards yourself or others. But once you achieve the gratification you're looking for, you'll often find that it's not as fruitful as you imagine it to be. A lot of people motivated to stick to the patterns for doubting them, by the time they do it, things are different. For real. Excuse me, I lost my place. The situation has often changed, the parents are no longer around, or maybe they've mellowed. Insecurity and anger can be tremendous drivers of success, but I don't believe they lead to happiness. Anger and resentment are heavy ingredients to carry around. Gratitude is light. I'm fascinated that people think that gratitude creates complacency. There's a reason why complacent and grateful are 2 different words. The definition of complacency is a feeling of smug or uncritical satisfaction with oneself or one's achievements. They're not the same. For example, I can separate my gratitude from my requirements for financial structure of a business deal. If those requirements aren't getting fulfilled, I know I'm in control of making a decision on whether I sign the deal or not. Same thing applies if you work at a company. You can be grateful that you have a job, but if you feel it isn't paying you enough, for the result, but you feel it isn't paying you enough after you've delivered results for 3 years, you can take another job instead of dwelling on it. As you'll see in part 2, you can be grateful and ambitious. You can be grateful and tenacious. These traits don't have to come at the expense of the other. Want to know what my energy and smiles come from when you see me on social media? They're from gratitude. If I wake up in the morning and nobody I love has passed away from or come down with a terminal illness, then my day starts off great. If the people closest to me are okay, I'm good. I won. Nothing else can truly faze me beyond that. If you're truly grateful what you have, instead of being envious of what you don't have, you'll have to dominate. You'll be a dominant force in business and, more importantly, in life. So I know I got a little jumbled there, last page and a half, but the format is I read, and here and there, if I feel necessary, I'll share some personal experience. And then throughout the reading, if you guys have questions or if you want to share an experience in the chat, feel free to do so. Kason and Riz and anybody else that joined, thank you. Again, that's chapter 1 of Gary V's 12 and a half. I have no intention of, besides sharing this with my community and sharing how reading this literature helps me through the day. The next chapter is going to be self-awareness, conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. And while you guys are watching, and if you guys could share, like, and subscribe, I'd appreciate that. Okay, I just started a poll. If you guys want to participate in my poll, coming up here in a couple of weeks, there will be a music show here. People will be able to come by and view the collection and make some purchases if you guys are interested.